Hi everyone, this is Ray Bango and this is a video for Tuts Plus. So whether you're a Ruby developer, a Python developer, or JavaScript developer, you always want to try to produce good quality code. It's a sign of a good programmer, and it's also going to make sure your apps run the way you expect. And so linting is just part of that process. It helps to kind of identify code errors and analyzes your source code and points out things that might need a little bit of debugging. In the jQuery world, up till now, a lot of people have used JSLint, and it's a linting tool created by Douglas Crockford that analyzes your JavaScript files and points out common errors. Kind of gives you a heads up so you can debug it interactively. I'm not going to talk about how to use JSLint. That's the purpose of this video tutorial, is to help you set up linting within your most common workflow. And that includes not only your command line, but also your text editor. In this case, my text editor happens to be Sublime Text. And in addition, also how to add it to your task workflow. I use Gulp quite a bit. Some folks might use Grunt, but I'm going to show you how to do it in Gulp as well. So if you want to get to know a little bit more about JSLint, we do have a tutorial, and the link is up here. And I'm also going to make sure that it's available on the actual page for this particular tutorial. Now, while JSLint is a very popular choice, the most popular choice for linting by far within the JavaScript community is a fork of JSLint called JSHint, and it was created by these two authors, Anton Kovalyov and Paul Irish. And basically what they felt was that JSLint was a little bit too opinionated, and they wanted to create a community-friendly fork of JSLint. So they did that, and they created JSHint. And in fact, they call it the gentler JavaScript code quality tool. If we go over to the JSHint page, you'll see that in order to install JSHint, you're going to have Node. A lot of these tools nowadays are requiring Node because it's very simple to allow you to install and get up and running. It's a great server, but it's also a great I guess, installation vehicle as well for all these different packages. So if you need to install Node, a couple of options. First, you can go to the node.js.org website. Have a very simple install button right here. You just go ahead and click on it. It'll download the package for you. It's cross-platform, so it's available on OS X, Windows, and Linux, and you just install it. The other option is using MVM from Tim Caswell. And what I like about MVM is that it allows me to manage multiple versions of Node. So if you're doing development on, let's say, older versions of Node and you need to keep those in place, MVM is a great choice because it'll let you install it and manage those versions. So I'll make sure to include that link outside in the article so that way you have it available to you. But it is called MVM, and it's by Tim Caswell. Let me close this out. All right, so we need to install JSHint. Now, JSHint, we're going to install this globally, and the way you do it is you open your command line, and it's a very simple install. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring up Node, and again, like I mentioned, I use MVM. So MVM use, and I'm using 0.10. This is the most recent version. This gives me access to Node version 10.25. The next thing I want to do is install JSHint, and JSHint is packaged as a Node package here. And what I want to do is install it globally so it's accessible to all my projects. So npm install -g JSHint. Pretty straightforward. All right, this is a very typical Node package manager based command. So again, npm install -g JSHint. When I go ahead and hit that, what will happen is it'll go out to the npm registry, it'll find it, and it goes ahead and installs it. Pretty straightforward so far. Let me clear this out. Now, if I just go ahead and type in JSHint right now, not much is going to happen because I'm not targeting a specific file. The way this linting process works is that you would go ahead and specify JSHint, and then you'd specify some type of target file, in this case a JavaScript file. I haven't done that, so really nothing's going on. But before I can get to the point where I'm actually linting these files, I need to make sure that it's accessible across the board where in all my directories. So in order to do that, what I want to do is first figure out where NVM kind of installed this. So if I go here, which JSHint, it'll give me the actual path for JSHint. So in this case, it installed it under my user folder in NVM 1025 bin JSHint. And so I want to add that into my bash profile in my environment so it's available to me. So let me go ahead and bring that up. And I use some code snippets here just to save some typing because I don't want to bore you guys with all my typing. So what I want to do is I want to bring up my bash profile. I'll bring that up. Let me bring that over, drop it right here. And if you notice, basically, I've gone ahead and added that into my path. So now, basically, JSHint will be available to me wherever I'm at. Perfect. Awesome. That's exactly what I needed. All right. Now that it's available to me anywhere where I can go, the next step is to actually go ahead and try to use JSHint, I guess the file. So I believe in trying the old reliable, all right? And what I mean by that is, well, jQuery. I tried linting jQuery. Yep. So the command is very straightforward. It's JSHint jQuery.js. So we're calling JSHint, and we're specifying the target file, which is going to be jQuery.js. So when I hit enter, boom, I get a big report back, okay? That report will give me an analysis of the code and start listing out things that could be problematic. For example, in this case, it's telling me that I should consider changing the way that I do conditional expression comparison with null. I'd have to dig into the code a little bit more to see what the actual issue is, but notice that it tells me the line number, and it even tells me the column number. And as you scroll down, you're going to see there's a whole bunch of things here that it's finding and pointing out. The amount of information it provides and the type of analysis it'll do can be configured through options that JSHint offers. So when you hit the website, if you want to tweak it some more, no problem. All the configuration options are there for you. Again, we're not doing that here. This is just to show you how to set it up within your environment. So again, the command is real simple. It's JSHint, and then you specify your target file. Well, that's fine and dandy, and I personally would like to get some type of real-time result. It'd be great if I could go ahead and be able to see this type of linting when I'm actually typing in my code. That'd be really cool, because then it will save me some time instead of having to worry at the end and going back and trying to fix a bunch of stuff. One of the key things about linting is that we make common errors, especially in JavaScript. Sometimes we forget about parentheses, or sometimes we don't close with the proper semicolons or whatever it might be. And so linting goes ahead and provides those clues that we need to make sure that the code is especially debuggable. So in order for me to do that within my editor, which happens to be Sublime Text, I need to use a plugin, and that plugin is called Sublime Linter. Now, Sublime Linter is it's a plugin that can work within Sublime Text, but let me explain what this really is. Sublime Linter is a bit of a framework for a series of other plugins that act as the actual linters. So think of it as kind of like a foundation where you tack on other plugins. So it's a plugin it's a plugin that supports other plugins. So Sublime Linter will give you the framework, and then what you're going to do is, depending on the type of language and linting you want to accomplish, you can install other plugins to support that. So for example, if I go here, well, there's a Sublime Linter for JSHint, which is what we're actually looking at. But if I scroll down, there's also Python, and here's PyFlakes, and there's Ruby, and here's PHP. So as you can see, there's all these different types of plugins that work with Sublime Linter to go ahead and make your linting very, very specific and much more flexible. Very cool stuff. Now, in order to install this, I'm going to need to have package control available. And so if you're a regular Sublime Text user, you probably know what package control is. It allows you to install these plugins very easily. It's a package manager for Sublime Text. Trivial to install. You're going into Sublime Text. You're going into the command line view, and you're dropping in this code right here. And basically that gives you access to a very rich repository of plugins. This is not a tutorial on how to use Sublime Text, but it is important for you guys to know how to install package control in this context, so you know how to install Sublime Linter. But just for context, to show you the richness of some of the controls that they have, or the plugins, if we go here, They have all types of things for every type of functionality you can imagine, whether it's HTML5 syntax, alignment functionality, themes, it's all there. Package control is definitely worth the install, and I already have it installed on Sublime Text. So what I want to do is I want to install Sublime Linter. In order to do that, I need to go here, and I'm going to go to Sublime Text, Preferences, and see Package Control. Boom. Click on that, and I want to install package. And it's going to come up, and it's going to prompt me for which package do I want to install. Sublime Linter. All right. Sublime Linter, here's the very first one. All right. And all I have to do is click on this. And when I click on this, boom, notice that it says installing package Sublime Linter. That gets installed. Beautiful. It is one requirement. It's now, you're going to need to have Sublime Text 3. I'll tell you why. Oh, I'm sorry, I closed out the window. Oh, actually, no, here it is. Okay, great. It's actively supported only in Sublime Text 3. It used to be supported in Sublime Text 2, but notice here, it says right there, it's no longer supported. You can still find it. You can go to the GitHub repo and you can download the package and install it. But they recommend using this one, which is a more updated version. And Sublime Text 3 is actually working really well, so I recommend it. Definitely go for it. All right, so now that we have that installed, the next thing we need to do is install the actual linter plugin itself. Remember, Sublime Linter is kind of like a baseline framework. What we want to do now is install the plugin for JSHint. So we follow the same exact steps: Sublime, Preferences, Package Control. We're going to install a package, and then from there we need to look for Sublime Linter -JSHint. All right, it's the very first one. Notice it's not going to be JSXHint. We don't want that. We want this one right here, JSHint. So I click on that. Goes ahead through the install. It says it's been successfully installed. Let me close this out. And now when I go to Tools, there's my Sublime Linter. With Sublime Linter, you have a couple of ways of actually having the linting work. First of all this configuration I did at the terminal level is important because if JSHint is not available within the path, Sublime Linter can't work. So that's one of the reasons that I took you through the setup at the terminal level. Now, once I know it's going to work here, so what I need to do is determine how do I want to lint. There's a couple of options. I can use background mode. That means that as I'm typing, there's linting going on. Sublime Linter will look at what I'm typing and offer immediate feedback if I make mistakes. I can do load and save. So as the file is loaded and as the file is saved, it lints, gives me feedback there. I can say save only, obvious. When you save the file, it lints it. Or I can do a manual linting. In this case, I'm going to keep it as background. Boom, go here. Now I have this function. It's just normal function, nothing major. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of this. So let's do function, and let's just do here. Oh, notice immediately I made a mistake. I didn't specify a function name. All right. It'll tell me missing name in function declaration. Look right here at the status bar. Missing name in function declaration. Great. So at least I know I need to add a name. Foo. All right. Got past that point. I'll add my parens. Notice that no errors came up. Great. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a variable. So I'll go foo equals array. Oh, another error. Wonder what's going on here. Well, when I click in here, there's like a name collision. Foo is already a name of a function. So let me go ahead and change this variable around. And boom, save here. Name. And you know what? I should actually name it var for proper. Var name equals ray. And I'm going to go here, here. And notice that I get an error because it says I'm missing a semicolon. Awesome. These are little tweaks that are really important because it's so easy to miss a semicolon. And so having something like this that can give you real-time feedback is really awesome. So I'll put that. Great. Now, the last thing, I'll give you another example. If name equals null. Well, notice that I got immediate feedback, and there's a specific reason. First of all, I need to wrap my expression in parentheses. So, okay, I'll do that. Let's see how that goes. All right. And I still have an error. And the reason is because I'm trying to do an assignment to my variable name with the value of null within a conditional expression. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'll do equals. But I still have one more error. This is actually just more best practices. This is telling you, hey, listen, if you're going to compare data types this way, you probably want to go ahead and have an explicit expression. So let's go with that, and notice that the error goes away. The last thing I'll do is here, and done. Now, this is obviously a very simple example, but this is a very common type of problem that developers encounter. You're typing stuff, you get very accustomed to just whipping through code, and sometimes you're going to forget the little nuances of your code. Something as trivial as a semicolon could actually affect the way that your code runs. So in this case, we've seen in real time how Sublime Linter and JSHint can save you debugging time down the road. Really cool stuff. Let me close this window out. Now I've shown you that. I've shown you how to do it within Sublime and in real time. I've shown you how to do it via the command line, which is kind of cumbersome, not great. I think in most modern development workflows, you're going to have some kind of task runner. A lot of people use Grunt, but the new hotness right now is it's a task runner called Gulp.js, gulpjs.com. I'll bring that up, and it's a lot of people are raving about it because it puts code before configuration. I think a lot of people get they think about Grunt and they know they have to configure a lot of things ahead of time, and from what I'm seeing, Gulp streamlines things a little bit more, and the way you define your tasks seems a little bit more intuitive. It's still new, so I'm kind of holding off opinion on it. I'm testing it out. It looks pretty cool. I think Grunt is still awesome, so Grunt would still be my go-to one, but Gulp looks pretty good as well. So let's take a look at some of the plugins that Gulp has, and it's not as comprehensive as Grunt, but they're growing tremendously in a pretty good clip. So they have like Mocha for running Mocha tests. Here's JSHint. We're actually going to be using that one. Uglify for minification, Concat for concatenating files together. All different types of plugins, and it seems like they're growing their repository at a pretty good clip. The one thing about this is that basically these Gulp plugins are basically npm packages, and just the same way that we installed JSHint, that's how you would install the Gulp JSHint plugin to make it accessible to Gulp itself, and you can include that in Task Runner. So if I was going to do that, I'd go like this, and I'd say npm install gulp-jshint, and it'll go out to the npm registry and pull it in. Notice that I didn't specify the -g global flag, and the reason is because I want this at the project level. I don't need it available globally. So let me pull up my editor real quick, and let's start looking at what that Gulp file would look like. So again, Gulp file, if you're not familiar with Gulp, it's analogous to a Grunt file, and this is where you would define your task. And you would also define the dependencies that you would need for the individual task, and that's where we put it right there. So in this case, I'm using two Gulp related files, which are the key dependencies for Gulp itself. And I'm using Uglify because I want to minify my files, and I'm using cat because I want to concatenate all my JavaScript files into one to limit like HTTP request. So in order for me to have JSHint available to me within Gulp, the first thing I need to do is add it in as a requirement. So let me go here, and I'm going to bring this over. I'll get rid of that. And now what I've done is said, all right, I have this this module available called JSHint, and I want to include it into my Gulp file so I can go ahead and create a task with it. If we look at the task breakdown here, this one's called JS, and so what happens is it's using the new Node Stream APIs that are available to go ahead and allow me to grab all these files and pipe them into Uglify, pipe them into Concat, and then eventually spit them out into my destination folder as a single file. Pretty slick stuff. In order for me to define a linting task, it looks very similar, and so if I go in here and I bring in the code, you'll see that I'm giving it a semantic name called lint. I'm specifying the source so I can grab my stream, and my stream is going to be my JavaScript files. Then what I want to do is I want to make a call to JSHint so I can actually lint the JavaScript files. And JSHint has this reporter capability, which lets you define the output of all these errors that are going to come out. I've just selected the default in here because I don't need to go through all that configuration option. The last thing I need to do is update the default task so that it actually calls my new task. So in order for me to do that, pretty simple replacement. I'll go here and I'm going to go here. Boom. And so all I'm saying is in the default task, make sure you call my new lint task. Let me save this and I'll show you how this kind of looks like. The first thing I need to do is switch over. I want to make sure that I'm in my development directory. Let me see where I'm at. So cool, I'm in my development directory, but I need to go one back, all right, because I need to be in the root of my development directory. It is incredibly simple to call Gulp, and it's because it's one command line, or one command, and it's called Gulp. Now what'll happen is when I call Gulp, it's going to look for my Gulp file.js, and it's going to look to see what the dependencies are. It'll load those dependencies and make sure they're available, and then it's going to start running my tasks, and it's going to kind of look at this and say, all right, what are the tasks that I need to run? I'll run that, and so let's see what happens. As it runs, and if you remember the error report that I received when I ran the command line version of JSHint, this is going to look pretty similar. All right, here's Gulp. It's going ahead and pulling in the Gulp file. It's running my task, and notice right here. All right, let me expand this out just a little bit so we can get a little bit of clarity. Here it is. In all.js, it found the missing semicolon. Again, in all.js, expected an assignment or function call. So it's reporting, it's linting my JavaScript files and actually reporting issues that it's finding. So again, the cool thing is that this becomes more of an automated process for you and a part of your normal workflow, as opposed to you having to do this manually. So that's how you set up JSHint. Hopefully it was really simple to do. I wanted to do something that I didn't see too much information out there on how to kind of add it into your whole entire development workflow, and I'm hoping this video helps you out, and I'm hoping it makes adding this type of linting functionality a little bit easier, and it streamlines your workflow. All right, guys, thanks a lot for your attention, and have a great one.